Namaste, beloveds. This is Motherwood Wisdom, and this is a continuation of a topic that I did on my Blog Talk radio show. And the topic itself is cosmic intercourse. And if you want to know more about that, I go into what cosmic intercourse is in the second Blog Talk show, and you can see it there, and I'll link it in the comments, so just look for it in the comments. And for those who don't want to take the time to go to listen to the Blog Talk radio show, I'll give you a brief, very, very brief definition of what cosmic intercourse is. Cosmic intercourse, beloveds, is the birth of everything. It's the beginning of everything. It's the consciousness that began everything by replicating itself in order to know itself. In so many ways that it became a multiverse, in so many ways that it became multidimension, in so many ways that it became every species, every kingdom, every kind of being that can be, past, present, and future, all kind of in one way of knowing. That is what cosmic intercourse is. And because of cosmic intercourse, we have galactic realities, we have universal realities, we have planetary realities, and all of these come together, intersect, and are interwoven and influence us in so many different ways, beloveds. And we've got to get back once again to knowing ourselves from this aspect, from the aspect of the cosmos, of the cosmic frequency and cosmic spectrum of things, and not just planetary. We are so set on planetary that we forget how vast and how unlimited creation truly is. And we are part of that creation. We have intimate connection with it, beloveds. And there's no reason for us to continue to be unconscious of this if we choose not to be. So it's time for us to start expanding our spiritual conscious awareness. And in that process, that too is cosmic intercourse, because you're entering into the reproductive flow and creation and development of spiritual conscious awareness. And that spiritual conscious awareness, beloveds, manifests into matter, and into matters, circumstances, situations, planets, everything that gives off the frequencies and spectrums of its focal point. Okay? So whatever its focal point is, whatever its purpose is, it's going to seek its purpose. It's going to attract what it needs for its purpose. This is where we are in the Aquarian age with spiritual conscious awareness, the way it's coming to us, the way it's flowing in, the way we're starting to recognize it, and the way some of the old boy network is fighting against it, fighting against letting it go, fighting against the change, fighting against the expansion of wisdom's design. And of course, they're not going to succeed in that. And I don't want to make this an us versus them, but you have to know that contrast is necessary. Light and shadow is necessary, beloveds, for you to be able to understand the full context of something. You need to know the range. You need to know the frequencies, from the highest to the lowest, from the brightest to the darkest, so to speak. And I'm doing a third show because my Blog Talk show was interrupted with a caller and his questions. And I don't want to say interrupted, but I was diverted from the one of the main purposes of doing the show. And one of the main purposes of doing the show, Cosmic Intercourse, is to bring attention and focus to what is going on in the media, social media, YouTube, the news, the situations that we're being asked to observe. And when I say asked to observe, I want you to understand that the desires in your heart are what pull you to certain things, certain people, because of their spirit energy, because of their frequencies, because they're familiar to you, or because they give off a certain energy that attracts yours for a reason. And there is a lot going on right now in several of the main industries of entertainment, music, movies, so forth and so on. And they're very interwoven in their essence, in their purpose, and also the effects, the lasting effects that they have on individuals and the collective, beloveds. And it's time for us to realize that as we're watching existence, we're also, that is an act that is taking it in, that is absorbing the energies. If all you're getting is negative energies, demonic energies, low frequency energies, that's what you're feeding upon. And that's what's going to be fed within you. And so what is light in you, what is bright in you, is going to be dimmed down. It's going to be starved because you're not feeding it what it needs to expand itself. So you need to be very particular with what you're allowing into your spiritual conscious awareness, beloveds. And like I said, right now there's a lot going on. I didn't want to get too much into names, but there are some big names in the industry right now that are surfacing to bring light to the root cause of a lot of trauma that we are experiencing as a collective. And that is the casting couch. That is adults with children having sex and intercourse with children, grooming children. These are ancient practices. It's pederasty. It's Roman, Greco-Roman. It's very ancient, beloveds. And the beings that are using these ways to indoctrinate and to traumatize, they're doing it to stay in power. Because if you have a being who is spiritually conscious and stands in their spiritual consciousness and is not moved by, let's just say, sex, then you can't sell that person. You can't reach that person. You can't change that person, because that person's not into the world or the worldly view that you're trying to expand or invite them into. So they're not willing to lose part of themselves to gain that, a deeper understanding or understanding of that sexuality without unconditional love. And when you look at the images that we're seeing through the medium of film, there's not a lot there that recommends or that values or that teaches you to value unconditional love. Everything is instantaneous, and someone's going to get hurt and blah, 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 or someone's recovering from being hurt, what someone did to them and what they think someone did to them, and they've got to get their lick back. And everything's such a game to be played. Life is a game to be played, to be won. And you've got to hurt somebody in order to win. You got to step on them. You got to step over them. You've got to ignore them. You've got to put them in their place. There's so much that needs to be unveiled. It needs to come to the surface so it can be seen, so that it can be dealt with, because these frequencies and spectrums are deeply rooted in what causes human beings trauma. And it's not just causing the human beings trauma. It's causing the earth traumatic effects with the climate and so forth and so on, because we're not aware. We're not spiritually aware of our connection to everything and everyone. We think that we're so separate that we can do this or we can do that, or it wasn't my daughter who was raped, or it wasn't my child who got shot. It's not my son that's with mental illness. We're all connected, beloveds. There is no way to separate yourself from humanity. There is no way to separate yourself from this universe and its universal laws. There is no way for you to separate yourself from the concluding design of what was designed, what is designed to happen. This is a creation. It has a purpose. Life cycles, seeds, they have purpose. You may not know everything all at the moment, You may not be able to fully see every aspect of something, to fully discern the whole of it, all of it. But what you can see should be enough to tell you to get your spirit in order. And that the personification of egos is so temporary, beloveds. It's so temporary, and not only is it temporary, its value, it's being that it's so temporary, it's just valueless. It's valueless. When you begin to understand things on a cosmic level, a galactic level, a universal level, you understand that there is a vastness, there is an immensity to existence. It's not something so small as you live, you're born, you die, and maybe you're reincarnated again. We have lost a lot of our wisdom and the ways of wisdom. And we've done that because of the desires of our hearts for glittery, sparkly, human, temporary things that we have given so much value to, that we don't know that relationship, intimate relationship, truth, trust, is what is so missing in our reality. And we think that it must come from someone else because it can't be us. That means you're not being honest with yourself. That means you don't have a relationship, a truthful relationship with yourself, beloveds. We really need to start relating to ourselves. We really need to start finding out what we want. And when I say what we want, I'm not speaking of material things. I mean spiritually. What do you want spiritually? Because you are unlimited in anything that you can manifest and do. You can call upon frequencies and spectrums and vibrations that keep suns shining, and they keep the planets rotating. There's nothing that you cannot create. But you're so caught up in the aspect of your persona that you abandon your spirit for it. You trade in your spiritual knowledge, your spiritual wealth, that which has no form, that which has no shape, that which has no age, for something that you can touch, for something that others value. So, and others have taught you should value, because this is what is important. not those daydreams, not those conversations that you have with yourself about yourself. Wake up and come back to the world. Why? This world is passing away. It's dying. And everything that has been supporting this world is changing, is passing, is dying. We are in a new age, the beginning stages of a new age. There are so many new things, reborn things, resurrected things and ways to be known. And we're still seeing who's doing who and who's doing what to who. And they're getting away with it. Because if you start talking about it, you're crazy. And they'll come after you to shut you up and silence you. Isn't that the way? Isn't that the way it has always been? It'll continue to be that way until you realize, as a spiritual being, what your collective is capable of when it comes to standing up to these thoughts and feelings, these formulations of concepts and opinions of how to keep control of humanity through denying the wisdom of the divine feminine. And that is done by taking her children and grooming them, pimping them out, turning them into little junkies, into little whores for the system, for the industry, and then recruiting more to keep it fed. Because the industry has to be fed, beloveds. It has to be fed, has to be maintained. And it's maintained through our children. And you say, well, my child is right here and mine's doing it. Guess what? Your child is also influenced by the frequencies, by the spectrum, by the aspects that are created, by the pain and misery. If you want to change this, then you have to so-called flip the script. And you have to bring unconditional love into the picture. And those who are doing the grooming, those who are pretending to be what they are not, those who are lying, they must be called out continually. They must be held up to the light.